Hi, friends. This episode, we are going to talk about how we are struggling with grief and what to do about that. So, welcome, friends. Welcome back. Welcome if you are new. Please like, share, subscribe to the podcast, all the things, so others can hear it as well. But I'm so glad that you're here because this episode, I want to talk about how we generalize our grief in the way that we say, I'm struggling. So I was listening to a coaching call. I'm in a weight loss group, and somebody was saying, like, oh, I'm struggling with this. And I realized, like, in grief, I have said that a lot. I mean, I have said that a lot in just like other general things, but it makes it really when you're grieving, like everything feels like a struggle, right? Like you have brain fog. Like it's hard to focus on things. Everything feels heavy or can feel heavy. It just like you're exhausted, but you can't sleep, right? Like, or you're sleeping too much. Like there's just a struggle that happens with grief. And so I wanted to talk about this because I think so often we look at our struggles and everything gets lumped together. So when I'm struggling with grief, and I just think of it in a general, I'm struggling. I'm just really struggling. I'm really not having a hard time with this. I can't get over this. I can't get past this. And and for me too, it was a lot with my marriage, right? Because if you've been listening for a while, you know my dad died in July of 2019. My mom died in December of 2019. And in January of 2020, I found out about financial infidelity in my marriage. So a lot of it was all tied together. And a lot of all the hurt, the hopelessness, the betrayal, I just felt defeated and I just was struggling. And I realized that I think the part that I was struggling with so much was that I just thought of it as a generalized thing, right? Like, I'm struggling. I'm struggling with grief. I'm struggling in my marriage, right? Like, those are very broad terms. And we say that, and it doesn't even register that we're saying something in a broad way. To us, we think we know what we mean. So, why do I have to describe it more? But when I really started thinking about this and questioning this, it's like, I never dived any deeper than that. That's not true. I did have coaches throughout the way, so I did dive deeper on it. But at the time, I didn't realize like that's what they were doing, is they were peeling back those layers of struggles and looking at them in very one itemized thing at a time. So I knew that in order to heal my marriage, I was going to have to work on my marriage. I was going to have to decide if I wanted to stay married. I was going to have to decide if I wanted to put in the work and the effort. And that was an itemized thing, right? Thinking about my mom's death and working through that, processing that, like that is an itemized thing. Same with my dad's death, right? Same within the way that when my kids have birthdays, I miss my parents, and then it starts me to miss them, which then if my husband says anything that at all that's I don't deem supportive, or if he just kind of like brushes it off because he doesn't know what to say because I've got mad about the things he said in the past, I also deem that as he's dismissing me in my pain. And I say, oh, I'm just struggling. I'm struggling with this, right? And so again, it's just such a broad phrase that our brain offers us to say, yeah, like this is bad and you can't do anything about it because you're struggling. You're just struggling, you're just failing. And and then to tie in our Catholic faith, I think a lot of times when we are struggling with anything, we see it as we're failing. I think as women especially. we're failing. We are failing. Everybody else is doing it better than us. Not only am I failing at this, I'm failing at 15 other things. And also, on top of that, I think is that longing that from faith, any kind of any Christian faith you have, that you are longing to be more like Jesus. When we see that we're failing, we feel like we're disappointing him. We feel like or believe that it's just because our faith isn't strong enough. We should trust more. We should surrender more. And that might be the case, right? Maybe God is asking you to surrender more, but maybe God is just asking you to give that to Him, but also to work through those feelings as well, right? To have more like to surrender to Him, yes, but have the more active role also of, okay, but what do you want me to be doing about this, Jesus? Right? Like maybe He's like, absolutely nothing. This is just hard, right? Like there's a lot of times where I want to change my husband and I can't. And so sometimes He's asking me to just surrender and to just keep my cool, keep my emotions in check. There's other times though where I want to change my husband and some of the actions that my husband is doing is it's not okay to be treated that way also. And a lot of it's emotional and it is hard. But when I start to really write down or say specifically what I'm struggling with, the more that I can refine it. The more I refine it, the more I can work through it. And it doesn't feel so heavy. And excuse me, I think that when we say I'm struggling with things, what exactly is it we are struggling with? Like that is what I ask myself, right? And again, this is a work in progress for me also. I think it's always a work in progress as long as we are breathing and alive on this earth. And to ask myself, what am I struggling with? And most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, the heaviest part of the thing I'm struggling with is the thoughts I'm having about myself. The guilt and the shame that I'm placing on myself, telling myself I'm failing. Everybody else is doing it better. Everybody else has better marriages than I do. Everybody else is a better mom than I am. Like, oh, look at like the laundry isn't done again this week. It's washed and it's dried. I mean, the process of drying it, but it's not folded at all. Clothes aren't put away. Look at like we had so we had Easter. We only had a few people over, but I got thinking about it. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, like what if the girls want to show somebody their room? Because I have the main living area pretty decent and the kitchen. I try to keep the kitchen counters pretty clean, the dining room area, and then our living room. If you go in any other area of our house, mind you, we have 8 people in our house, it is a mess. And I try, and I try, and I try to stay on top of the toys and the trinkets that the kids bring home from school, and the papers, and the garbage, and the birthday party things, and the clothes. Like, I try my hardest, but it is a never-ending job. And so when I say like, oh, I'm just struggling, this house is never a mess. Look at how much I'm failing. Other people's houses, they're more of a minimalist than I am. Like I have such a mess. What I'm really saying is I feel like I'm failing. I feel like I can never catch up. And I have that belief, like I can never catch up. This is as good as it's ever going to get. I'm always going to be in this rat race of bouncing from one thing to the next, where I'm not putting as much time in my business that I want. I'm also not being as present with my kids as I want. My house also isn't as clean as I want it to be. I'm behind, I'm failing on everything. And really, what I'm trying, like, if you lump it all again, if we make that generalization of I'm failing, I'm struggling with this, really what we need to do is we need to break it down and we need to look at one item at a time. And I like to invite the Lord in and ask him, like, what do you want me to really focus on first? That if I do that, that will ripple into the other areas. And so for me, I know for Lent, I was gonna give up my second caffeine drink of the day. I drink 1 cup of coffee in the morning, and then I typically have like a caffeine tea or another cup of coffee in the afternoon. Sometimes I do both. So I have a lot of caffeine in the day. And it's not so bad when I have the tea because there's like water in that and it doesn't make me feel as yucky. But when I have a second cup of coffee, a lot of times like I don't feel good. It really makes my head hurt more. My teeth kind of hurt from it. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna cut out that second caffeine for the day. Like that was what I was gonna give up. I'm like, this is gonna be a struggle. It's gonna be hard, but I'm gonna do it. And what I found during Lent was hard. Like my husband and I were not in a good place. There was a lot of things that came up in grief that reminded me of my dad. It was emotionally heavy and I was struggling, right? Like I was struggling. And from that, what I realized and what I asked the Lord and once I asked him, right? Because for Lent, I was just like, this is what I'm choosing, this is what I'm gonna do. But once I really asked him and I surrendered that to him, what I realized he's calling me to is to coach myself every day through my emotions so I can handle the things that come up. So I can handle the kids' schedule and the things that come up in my business. Owning your own business is very emotional, you guys. It is an emotional roller coaster. And especially when you're talking about grief all the time, it can be depressing. So finding a balance in that, I know that's what Jesus is calling me to because if I don't have a balance in that, it really affects my marriage, it affects my children, how I'm showing up for them. It's also affecting my business because I don't want to show up, right? It feels hard, it feels heavy. My weight has also gone up quite a bit this year. And so I know too that when I coach myself, like I make better food choices. And so I know like that's what Jesus is calling me to. That's what he's asking of me. But I wouldn't have known that if I started asking more why questions instead of just saying like I'm just struggling. Instead of like asking why? Why are you struggling? What things are you struggling with? What does it mean to struggle, right? We have a term in our head, but what does it mean? How am I struggling? And that's when I realized too, most of what I'm struggling with is emotional. It's things and thoughts and feelings that I have that a lot of other people, like nobody even knows this is going on until I finally get to a point where like I can't take it anymore. And that's when then my husband and I tend to fight because like everything feels like it's falling apart and I don't like to ask for help. So it just piles on. And I struggle and struggle and struggle until everything kind of reaches a breaking point. And then I tend to retreat and read a lot of books and shut down, and I'll sleep a lot. Like I will sleep. And so asking yourself why and how. What exactly am I struggling with? How am I struggling? Why do I think I'm struggling with that? Just asking kind of those questions and keep going a little bit the next step. Like, okay, tell me more. Tell me more. If it act as if you were telling a stranger your problem, pretend like I'm there, right? And you're writing this in your journal and I'm asking you, tell me more. Tell me more. Can you be more specific? Can you tell me the last time this happened? What did you do last time that happened? How did you show up? And as you start to peel that away, then you can start seeing, oh, like this is what I've been doing. And I really want to be doing this. I want to be more focused. I want to be more present. And in order to do that, this thought is what I'm going to start with. This feeling is what I'm going to try to do, start with, right? And I also think, again, we tell ourselves so much that we are failing, but we never ask ourselves, what does it mean to be a failure? What does it mean? If you thought of your friend who lives a pretty close lifestyle as you do, or another family member or a sibling, would you think of them as a failure? So why are you telling yourself you're a failure? And just reflect on that, think about that. And I know that it can be, sometimes it can feel harder in grief. And it really is just asking yourself those simple questions more and more and more, becoming more aware. But again, grief is heavy, grief is hard. And so if you're unsure, I invite you again to go to catholicgriefcoach.com and book a free consult with me and we can talk through it. And I do have a grief group starting in May 9th. And so I think when this podcast comes out, it might actually be the 9th, but I'm going to be running them every month. And so if you want to join that, it's 4 group calls for $97. And we're going to be talking through this stuff. And as you see other people get coached, or if you raise your hand to get coached yourself, like it's so valuable, you guys. Some of the hardest things I've gone through, I have been coached through, and it is life altering because you get such a different perspective that you never thought of before. And I like the group because it also helps you know that others are going through it as well. You're not alone, that grief comes in all different shapes and sizes. And just to have a support group where it's more normal, it's normalized, right? Because everybody is going through something, but we don't talk about it. So we feel isolated. And so catholicgriefcoach.com, join my group coming up. Or again, if you go all the way to the bottom, there is a free consult call if you're like, I'm not sure, I don't know, but I know that I'm struggling. Just reach out and let me know, and I can help you through it. I am an amazing coach. I do know that. So I might feel like I'm failing at being a mom and a wife sometimes and a sibling and all the things, but I do know am an amazing coach. So I am praying for you guys and I hope that you have the very best possible day that you can. God bless.